Hey Josh, how are you?
Doing all right, Deanna. How you doing?
I am great. Thanks for joining me.
So I'm Josh Gibson. I grew up in Albuquerque. Uh, my parents had come from Texas and Ohio. I don't know a whole lot about the family history there. In fact, my father may well have been actually born in Albuquerque, but my grandparents certainly uh, came from West Texas. And Paris specifically. I think that's West Texas.
Okay.
I'm putting myself on the spot here with how little family knowledge I have. My grandfather that came from Ohio to New Mexico had a plenty interesting history. He was kind of known around like bootlegger circles and had maybe been in the room with Al Capone and all these things. And I recently learned was maybe looking at a career in the dark arts of booze smuggling and that sort of thing. World War II breaks out and things change, and he, I'm very proud to say, was a fascist killer. Uh, Saw action in Italy and then came back and did that boomer stuff, or that silent generation stuff.
Yeah.
Um, he wound up working at Sandia Labs, uh, helping design antenna. There's maybe some former Nazis working in his proximity. All of these interesting things. Very sweet, very intelligent, gentle man. He raised my uncle and my mother predominantly alone, and and that was not a thing done at the time. And of course, like so many people, I regret how little attention I paid to him. I always loved him. He was my grandfather, but it was like, why didn't you spend every second with him learning about his life? I mean, your life is fucking boring by comparison. Uh, but a great man. And then uh, my grandfather and grandmother on my father's side, uh, he went off to fight in World War II as well, but the bomb was dropped when he was in the ocean on the way over, so he dodged that bullet, so to speak. Came back, poor Texas dirt farmer, became a contractor, built churches, uh, just a human dynamo of a man, a very intimidating, um, just a hard ass man, and a very loving grandparent. And my grandmother on that side was just a sweet little Southern belle, as endearing as could be. So my ma started having kids real young, and I was 19. She was 19 when I was born, and my sister was already 4 years older than me. Grew up in the Northeast Heights and had a stepdad around. My dad had other things to do. Real charming guy, real funny guy, and love and miss him. He passed a while ago, but there was a stepdad that sort of took care of us, and there was life in the Northeast Heights. I thought I was a normal kid or whatever. And we moved to the West Side. There was another divorce, and somewhere in there, I picked up a skateboard when I was 14 in the Heights. I heard Iron Maiden for the first time. I went skateboarding with a kid, and he dropped the needle on Peace of Mind, and the Trooper came on. And it's, dun, 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 and it took literally
Yeah.
about that long for my life to just
In an
like
instant.
something happened. And so I went and bought every Iron Maiden fucking thing I could, and then that led to every Metallica thing I could, and every Slayer thing I could, and it wasn't much. I got some. I do have like my Live After Death is my first vinyl album, and I still have that. But I came up pretty poor.
I have them too. I have this piece of mind. What do you call them when it's like has the art on the record? That's what,
Picture disc,
yeah,
yes,
that's one of my most prized possessions.
and well, it should be. I mean, a phenomenal album. I've gone through. various phases over the years, and Iron Maiden is still is one of my all-time favorites. And it's funny to watch the evolution of like their like taken so seriously now as Generation X comes into its own, and it's like, yeah, I was really right to fucking love that band. Like they're just incredible, and still like all these various like ways of having integrity. I don't want to gush too hard, but they're huge for me. Huge.
I had the same feelings last week when all those people were crying over Ozzy and Black Sabbath and their final concert. I was like,
Oh,
that's what we've been trying to tell you our whole lives. Like, that's
this stuff
awesome music.
matters.
It
Yeah.
matters. It endured and it lasted and it changed history.
Yeah. I mean,
To
what the way that these giants have sort of eclipsed, it's almost like there's a parallel in Stephen King, who was this sort of genre writer and maybe didn't get quite, the audience, of course, maybe didn't quite get the respect he deserved as a genre writer and this, as a horror writer or whatever. And now Stephen King is just synonymous with just good writing
yes,
and
yes.
and these like little special things for us, this like sure Iron Maiden was a giant band, but
It,
they
it,
weren't accepted like Steely
no,
Dan would be or something. But the
no.
musicianship's there, and now like it's our turn, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
rule. You guys had the Beatles and the Stones, and I cannot
yeah.
fake that, and
No.
and of course Black Sabbath in particular was more my parents' generation, but still, that was like that was our shit.
Yeah,
And
it's cool how you described the Iron Maiden changing your life in just that one uh, riff.
yeah, oh, just
Like
like I just
that's all it
knew.
takes.
It was absolutely incredible. And my mom, I mean, I grew up listening to Fleetwood Mac. Like, I can't like hear Rumors without hearing a vacuum running in the background. She was a house cleaner, and boy, she marathoned that record. I mean, I can't imagine. I have her copy. I can't imagine it's playable anymore. She had Deep Purple albums and all kinds of cool shit, but that was my first, like, fuck you, mom, look what I'm listening to, not realizing, of course, like, her Jethro Tull album was a huge influence on Iron Maiden. I mean, she's cooler than me. It's cool,
Yeah,
whatever.
takes you till much later in life to realize that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm. Oh,
Um,
let me ask quickly about the Northeast Heights. Uh, where are you buying those records? What was our record store on
I think it
Manal?
was Budget Tapes and Records
Okay.
uh, over on Eubank and Candelaria.
Yep. What were the
They had
others?
the
Wasn't there
sign
like
that said, "Sorry, we're open," and then you flipped it around and said, "Yes, we're closed."
there was
Um,
also like wasn't there Merlin's records? That was a big deal. Merlin's or
yeah,
Charlie's.
I feel like I remember that. There was a big ass record store too. I remember my mom buying Journey's Escape there, and there's just media everywhere because that when that album dropped, I mean that was an event, and that was over by the mall. It was like San Pedro and Candelaria, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Oh, there was a natural sound at
Natural
that.
Sound was the one on
That's
Eubank and Candelaria. That was what it was. Yes.
which
Yep.
it natural sound was the place putting on a lot of the original shows down by UNM in their first
Yeah, because there
location.
was one by UNM too. I
Yeah.
remember. I remember buying. I think I had Green Day's first album on cassette that I bought there, and Asexual's album on cassette that I bought there, and then of course eventually it was just always Bow Wow. But that was all from a later time when I moved over there.
A little
Uh,
later. Which elementary school and middle schools on that side of
so I went to
town?
Oñate, which was fine. I mean, it seemed like a great elementary school. I don't have a lot of experience with elementary schools. And then Jackson, which felt pretty thugged out. I mean,
Really?
I'm sure I'm an irritating adult too, but I think I was a particularly irritating kid. So I got bullied enough. But like I saw a kid shoot up there.
Damn.
Jackson was a little wild. It was a little wild.
Damn. Where's
Yeah.
Jackson?
It was on Indian School just west of like Eubank. And we used to go to the Indian School ditch when I was a little kid, and jumped down because it was all dirt. It was just a trench in the fucking right, and
Yep.
the sand was super soft, so we could just jump like 15 feet down and land in this soft pile of sand. And then years later, there was at Chelwood, an Indian school, the road dipped down into the ditch, right? And it was paved. And a Manzano student, I was at Manzano for a semester, but this is before I went there. A Manzano high school student was driving through there when a flash flood came and it took her away. And so then they paved it. And then there
Okay.
was a bridge there
Okay.
after that. But Indian
Yep.
school, for all the skaters that would watch this, when they paved that motherfucker, like, I mean, Thrasher magazine would come out and visit over that. It was, and I still to this day, I can't really skate anymore because I want to do shit. I want to
Yeah,
go
you don't want to
up
hurt
and down the
yourself.
stairs and stuff. My knees
Yeah.
can't. No.
Yeah.
But I would still bomb that ditch. I mean, you just, for miles, just smooth as silk, hauling ass up and down the walls. I mean, it was like a like a church for us.
I spent most of my teenage years sitting on the side of some arroyo watching you guys skate.
Yeah, it was. Oh, God bless the women that hung out with skaters. You rule.
It was
Uh,
just fun. I didn't need to hurt myself. I was happy just watching you.
I was a little cowardly, especially when I was young. So I wasn't really in danger of hurting myself, nor was I in danger of being all that great a skater. Later on, I got kind of good at it, but I wasn't thinking about going pro or anything like that. And I kind of grew up in Abe Towery's shadow. He was like the best skater, and he was this talented musician. He was, all of these things. And he was an early one. Him and I kind of discovered the downtown and UNM scene,
Oh,
West Side, uh,
okay. Uh,
and
s- so circle back to that. Middle school was Jackson. Did you finish there?
finished there. Manzano for a semester, and then off to the West Side.
So the West Side just sucks as bad as I think it does. I'm
Yes,
just
I feel
teasing.
like I'm. If my family ever sees this, they're going to be offended. But I hated it. I would walk to the Northeast Heights, like anytime I could. I could not deal with the West Side, because it was just all Mesa, and it was just all corporate shit. And I wasn't like cool enough to be like, fuck this corporate shit. I want to go to an independent restaurant for dinner. It wasn't like that. But
No.
just something about the entire shit was hostile to me. The West Mesa High School looks like a fucking prison. It's it's gnarly. It's gnarly, right? And
And it
so
was
yeah, when I
new at
was
that point, wasn't it? Like a lot of that out there was pretty,
there was oh yeah, everything was new, and so there was no trees.
yeah.
They were 2 feet tall. It was yeah, and I was always attracted to more green. And nothing in Albuquerque is green anymore at all. And I get xeriscaping and all of that
Yeah.
shit, but like
But
I Oregon kind of called to me at some point. But yeah, so when I was thinking about this interview, I was kind of thinking about me as this young punk, and around these people, and who my big brothers were, and who was around first. And there was always this sort of unspoken but understood, like you just come in with respect for the cats that were there. And so it was, whether it was Steve Island at skateboarding events, and the figure that he cut, or we're gonna go by Richard Agee's house. Like I heard of Richard Agee long before I met him. That's the way that works. But I was thinking about all the times in my life where I was like confronted with like, wow, dude, you're a fucking poser.
they were
and
teasing you.
and I mean, if we're in the context of Portland, I'm like, I'm arrogant as fuck. I've been around the hard shit. I was punk when Reagan was in the White House. Fuck you. But in Albuquerque, all these cats were around more. At at
I
West
don't even
Mesa.
pretend. I don't even pretend. I'm just
Yeah, I
a
did.
mom.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I had long hair. I just kind of blended into the wall at shows and stuff. And there's always been a thing around punk rock culture that's irritated the shit out of me, and that is, and you even hear old punks saying it, like, we couldn't even play. And there's this idea, isn't the point of punk that you can't play your instrument? And it's like, I mean, just listen to the Damned for a few minutes. Like, this is no, I mean, London Calling is just this masterpiece. It's broad and there's so much depth to it, and so not really. And you kind of like, yeah, you just, it begins and ends with the Sex Pistols for you. So
That's all they know.
enjoy yourself. But I wasn't there to like let out aggression or any of these things. I was
You like
like,
the music.
the Descendants are really fucking good. I really like them. Bill Stevenson is a fucking phenomenal drummer.
Awesome.
But I'm metal guy out. This is poser story number one. I'm metal guy out on the west side, and I wear this Metallica shirt I had to school, right? And this is like Master of Puppets era. Like this is like
It's
they're at the
88.
height of, yeah, like
Yeah.
they're probably 87, 86, I think even.
Okay.
They were at the height of their sort of power as a thrash metal band. And I show up to school in this shirt, my art class, and there's this Native American Hesher guy. And he looks at me, and him and I would kind of talk. I don't think he really was capable of friends, but him and I would kind of talk or whatever. And he looks at me and he goes, Metallica's false metal. And I was like what? And he was into like Merciful Fate and like super
Okay.
satanic shit,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
probably Possessed and Venom and shit
The
like that.
really old stuff. Old
Yeah,
dark stuff.
older or more satanic or whatever. First off, prescient. I mean, when the Black Album dropped, it was like, man, that fucking Native American Hesher was right. Uh, I still love him, but still. Uh, so anyway, within a month of that incident, and I was just like, oh, I didn't quit liking Metallica or something, but I was
Yeah.
like, God, that guy's scary. Beat one of our classmates to death with a rake.
To death.
To death. And like they were both not at school anymore. And so when I look back on that and being into Metallica and hearing from him about false metal and knowing that he beat a classmate to death, I'm like, I'm not that hard. I'm a poser.
Good. I'm good.
Compared to that shit, I'm a poser. You know.
And I am proud of you for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I ain't trying to be that hard. So
Yeah.
that was, the West Side, and it was pretty much all darkness like that, except that I met um, Rob Udias, Chris and Craig Brownrigg. We had this crew of sort of, for lack of a better term, like nerdy guys. We just didn't really
Okay.
fit in anywhere. We weren't like
Okay.
super students
You were like,
necessarily.
you're Descendants fans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
You're the you're
we
the
weren't
perfect
cool anywhere.
descendant.
We weren't wired into punk. Yeah, at that point, I mean, I like that. I like them or whatever. But
Yeah.
on the West Side, like, but I was also developing a friendship with Abe Towery, and so eventually all of us end up, sort of experimenting with the scene, and we wound up living in the Nerds House, which is a whole other set of
So
stories.
I've heard you guys talk about that. What is the Nerds House?
So, yeah, I guess we can just sort of continue. And this is I'm about to segue into it anyway, and
Okay.
it's far more
Okay.
relevant, I think, than any of my backstory stuff. So, we're on the West Side. We were kind of centered around the drama department. I was there to hit on chicks, but those guys were like, and whatever thing, right?
Yeah.
And then discover the Frontier Restaurant and all these things, and then my poor dear mother eventually gets sick of my shit. I'm 19 years old,
Oh.
and she gives me the boot. I've been to some punk shows, and I was starting to be around or whatever, and I'm scared shitless. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. But some of these guys that I'd mentioned had found a house to live in, and were already living there on Fraternity Row. And
Okay.
it was this house that a fraternity had disbanded and moved out of, right? So they're living there, and I move into this weird porch room, and this is like my life. I kind of realize now, looking back, was kind of shitty until this point.
Okay.
Like
Oh, really?
once I
This was
paid
a
my
turn.
first couple months rent and was like, I can go to bed at 1 o'clock or whatever, working at the
Nine.
cookie company in the mall or whatever fucking humiliating thing.
Take it.
It was always a company, burrito company, some sort of,
Take
but
it.
yeah, so we live in this house and we know these guys, and so we're on the scene now. And there's like Green Day was booked to play there, and a band that sort of morphed into Word Salad played there. The Leaving Trains played there
At the
uh,
nerd house.
at the Nerd House,
Okay.
and there was a strange situation with that because since we were a private house, the campus cops were like, "Well, that's not our problem." But since we were on campus, PD was like, well, that's not our problem.
Okay.
So when there was parties at our place or shows or whatever, like they went until they went. And there were several riots where invariably like some frat boy would talk shit, or some of the punk dudes that that I later came to know but didn't know at the time. The first time I ever saw Dominic Martinez was there, and in those days he was like 8 feet tall, and just like
A
like
legend.
yeah, and I could always get the sense because we had this nice ass yard, and the front porch. We would be chilling out there, and like these dudes that were like scene fixtures, like senior guys, they would roll up, and it was like it became like a place. It was a cool ass house, and we always got the sense that they were like kind of like looking past us, like who are the cool dudes that live here, and hence the name
Wait. Oh,
Craig
the
Robinson.
nerd house.
Yeah, so it was called the Nerd's House, and it was a really epic time in my life.
Is this 80s or 90s?
This was 90. Like, I think 90 was when I moved in there. I was there for 2 years and then moved to some sorry ass shitty apartment um, when that house disbanded. And I was in school. I kind of got my shit together. I was, I dropped out of school um, way the fuck back. I mean, I think I made it through like the 10th grade. And so I went to Freedom High, which is, punk rock high for Albuquerque. And I met
Yeah.
the likes of Dave Hernandez there and, various other scene luminaries. And yeah, I kind of grew up at that point, and then pretty soon I'm going to college. I'm in some horrible shithole apartment in the student ghetto, but life's pretty good, you know. And then I'm trying to get in bands and trying to put that shit together, and had been playing music a lot at this point, but wasn't I never took to anything very quickly. I sort of a humiliating start.
Oh, a lot like since you were a kid or just since you're hanging out?
Probably
Uh,
since I was like 15. I bought a
okay.
guitar when I was about 15 and was trying to be in a band with these West Side cats like Abe Towery and stuff, and they were real sweet. And I decided to quit our band before they had to fire me because I just couldn't play. I just sucked, And he was enormously talented. Like I got to be his big brother and show him some chords on guitar, and then he got way better than me. You know, it was a hard blow, but I took it to my credit. I took it like a man, and I just forced myself to get good at guitar, and I'm a pretty damn capable musician now. Uh, and that's all just force of will. I love rock
Wanted
and
to,
roll so much, Deanne. I love rock and roll so very much.
you got to be
Uh,
inside it. You can't be on the outside looking in. You need inside that music.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, eventually I put a band together, and that was the one that I sent you the link to the other day. We went on some tours, and it was our time to sort of inherit that scene, and we had a generation of kids that were like, oh, you guys, no, 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 and the older heads would kind of kick us like some okay shows, but there's there's this documentary that one of those kids younger than us put together about his band Left Unsaid, and it's pretty great. Bob Roth is interviewed in it, and Joe Anderson's interviewed in it, and all of these things. Joe Anderson, I think it was, really nailed this important cultural point about Albuquerque. And I had thought this and then heard it vindicated, from the guy that books Albuquerque, right? And what he essentially talks about is that the tour route, you're not going to go up north. Nobody's going to be trying to drive through fucking Montana, right? And so you're going down the west coast, right? And you got Phoenix, and what the fuck have you got after that? You got El Paso, and then into the Texas shit, and then somewhere in the middle, you have Albuquerque, New
Albuquerque.
Mexico. And you don't even want to play there half the time. NoFX swore it off after the NoFX riot. And still they came back because it's a long ass drive. And so Albuquerque had disproportionate influence, I think, as a result of that tour route.
Is that what you?
And
Because someone else, Steve said that too. The 8 hour rule. They got to sleep there anyway. They got to
yeah,
sleep in
yeah,
Albuquerque anyway. You can't keep driving, so you might as well play a show there.
exactly. I mean, that's when we were on tour, we were like, fuck, this sucks. We got this long drive. We're going to be a night without a show. And, when you're making $50 at a show, you're trying to fill up the tank with gas or whatever thing. Yeah, you want every show you can get. Maybe there's $10 in it, but that's, a bag of peanuts at the gas station. We gotta fucking eat,
And
right?
one more show. Like that's what you're
Yeah,
out there to do.
well, and we were there to put ourselves in front of people. We wanted to tour. We weren't, there was no money waiting for us at the end of that
No,
fucking rainbow, you know.
no.
Uh, and so, it was interesting, like coming up into that scene, and
Like
us having sort of our
in
time, and
yeah.
then I mean, when Blind Nine broke up, like I was dating this awesome woman, and that was my life. Like I had even dropped out of school because I was like, you're kind of half-assing college, and you're half-assing, or you're really into this band, just do it, you know. And so my whole life was that we break up, and I got this awesome woman in my life, and I'm gonna fuck it, and I booked. Didn't know shit about Portland, moved up here, and then my story, up here is my story up here. Some cool things. I got this awesome kid. I've got a good life, but I think a lot of Albuquerque. I mean, it is home. Culturally, I found Portland to be a bit of a backwater, which was shocking for me. It's a bigger city. I'm just like, you know,
You would
but
think.
yeah, yeah. Like when people would be talking about like, well, the Stooges were the first punk band, and it's like, well, yeah, Albuquerque's like already over that. Like we all
Yeah.
know that. We don't think we get cool points for knowing who the fucking Stooges are. And I swear
No.
to God, for like another 10 years, and Portland has a tendency to be self-referential. And there's great people here. There's great culture. We have Wipers. We had Elliott Smith. Like, you know, but Albuquerque, just kind of a wannabe LA, we took in culture, and
Yes. Very much so.
with the poverty, nobody's buying a fucking guitar and letting it sit. If you had enough money to buy a shitty guitar, you worked for that thing, so you meant it.
Oh,
And
yeah. That's a really
and so
good
I
way of putting it. What'd you say
yeah, I
earlier?
just
We're a follow through kind of town.
yeah, I really do feel like that. I mean, people would say these things, and like the land of manana, and
Yes.
it's like I don't. That's not really my experience.
Me
I
either.
mean, Craig Robinson fucking off in New York doing killing it as a serious designer, and we had Mike Sage with like a very well respected name in graffiti. So many tattoo artists, Beirut, the Shins, Scared of Chaka. I mean, Word Salad was never going to call down the kinds of fame that other bands potentially or did actually call down, but that was a truly phenomenal band. I mean, just remarkable, and the you know 500 people throughout the world that understand them are just blown away. Uh, they're just so harsh that not everybody's gonna get it. But
Yeah.
I got hella pride. Like, people mean their shit there.
That's a really good perspective. I think I totally agree. I thought about this podcast for 5 years before I did it. I was like, you take on that project, that's going to be a full-time job that you never get paid at. But, you know,
I mean, well, you can see like I've got my recording studio behind me.
yeah.
That's just part of a full-time job that I never got paid at. Like I got all these bands over the years. I've made so many recordings and all of this shit. I can use my band names as internet passwords. That's how unfamous I am.
But
And life does what it does.
but yet
Uh,
when I listen to the Blind Nine songs, that's that Albuquerque punk rock right there. Like that is the noise, the sound, the heartbeat of what I remember in my youth. Maybe not
well, that
specifically
is a
your
very
band,
sweet thing to say, and
but
for
it's
a guy
that's
that
what it
that
is.
craved ears so much, thank you for the ears. I mean, I of all the things I've ever been in this life, um, the things that I wanted to do with music and my love of music was always just very heartfelt and very serious, and it's a fucking pain in the ass.
I would
It's
guess so. Can't be
like we're
easy.
I wish I could have been this interested in investing stocks or some shit, right? I'd be fat in front of the camera, and it'd be a better phone that I'm looking at without a cracked fucking screen. Or
Oh, it's a better life. It's a better
no, it
life.
is. I wouldn't change a thing. I would have. Maybe I guess a good starting point would be, and some people remember this show. My first punk rock show was over by La Cueva. There was like a sportsplex, and SNFU played, and I think it was Chemical Youth, Nuclear Playground, which was an Albuquerque band, I think was on that bill. And, I'm just discovering this shit. A friend of mine heard about the show and we went. It was the first time like I ever saw skinheads.
This is how old are you?
This I would have been, I think, like 16 or 17. And I tried my hand at slam dancing immediately. Of course, I'm a small guy. Like I went right down. Fucking, and I don't even know who it was to this day. Some skinny guy picked me up and patted me on the back. And we'll now do the thing. I'd never fucking hung out around Nazis. It's not about that. Everybody always has to fucking explain it. But this is Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I think there was some Nazi shit there, but
From what I
they
understand,
were
those guys got
welcomed.
their asses kicked several times.
Yeah, it was just always a thing, right? But yeah, I did not fucking hang out with bigots. I mean, people up here, that are unaware of, I just don't want people misconstruing where I stand on the subject of race and fascism. Um, but anyway, that show was a pretty magical moment. I was enough of a rube that when somebody from one of the bands was standing next to me after they had played, I was like, "Whoa!" I mean, of course, like it's a punk rock show, dude. But prior to that, I'd seen Dio and Iron Maiden.
Where they
Bruce
come
Dickinson
with it.
wasn't going to come stand next to me after,
No,
like,
no,
you
not
know,
even his
um,
security guard.
yeah, and so and I think I was trying to play music in a little band at that time already, um, and as I mentioned, that didn't work out for me, and then so then naturally that leads to me discovering whatever bands around Albuquerque. Clay Nation was strangely an early one. I still have a Clay Nation cassette. Uh, I am the proud owner of two Jerry's Kids 7 inches, the first pressing and second pressing. A gift from Gordy, who had taken a liking to Blind Nine, and I'm working at Fred's, and he's like, "Hey, Josh, I brought you these," and I swear to God, I damn near started crying because I mean, Gordy, you know,
Explain
like
it.
that's Paul McCartney for
Yeah, you're an
for punks
Albuquerque
in
musician.
Albuquerque,
Yeah.
that level of approval, and those are a treasure. Like, I've got some cool guitars and all these things. If I had to run back into the house and grab anything, it would be those Jerry's Kids 7 inches. Uh, and so I grew up. I'd grown up seeing like Cracks in the Sidewalk a little bit. Elephant was a big one, and then as it got closer to my time on the scene, uh, Dave was really just getting Scared of Chaka going, and that, in my mind, uh, was the greatest Albuquerque band, and not to be topped. I mean, they were just so good and so sophisticated in this sly and subtle way that's like, there's Motorhead in there, and everybody wanted them to be this garage rock band, but then there was like these sweet little indie rock songs, and then some like super gnarly fast shit. And it people wondered why they never got the audience that a lot of us feel that they deserved, and I think some of it was that they wouldn't just fit into some easily marketable box.
Too
Uh,
complicated.
I got to play bass for them briefly on tour after I had moved up here, and that was an awesome experience. I don't think I was ever there. I was ever really fit musically, like it was, but I had an awesome time doing it. But my endorsement of them as this great band, I'm not part of that vision or whatever. I was just the jumpy guy filled in for a little bit. Uh, but that was, and we, Blind Nine, we played our first show with Scared of Chaka and Flake Music. And I think they were just Flake at the time, and they, went on to great fame and fortune as the Shins, and Dave from Scared of Chaka, of course, you know, wound up playing with them. And I mean, I don't need to be a tough guy. I loved the Shins. I think they were a phenomenal Albuquerque band. But likewise, so was Elephant, and to be sure, definitely, like, Word Salad is just huge for me. I was in a band briefly with Richard Agee and Jace. That didn't work out for me either. They played a couple of shows after I left. I don't remember what happened there, but we had some fun, and I kind of always forget that moment of history with Richard Agee, but he was just always such a sweet guy to me, and I was always really grateful for his friendship. And again, for a skinny, scared kid from the West Side, friendships like that just meant the world to me. That was
I'm
my
sure.
pass. Tommy Bottoms was my pass. The first time I saw him, I mean, he's a fucking terrorizing figure. He's just all muscle and just cruising around the pit in this demolition crew hat. And he's hanging out with the scariest dudes on earth. And I don't even necessarily remember the first time I met Tommy, but he was just very nice to me. And I just felt like, okay, well, at least like those dudes are now not gonna fuck me up, because it was, scary things. Like, I hear about like Carlos Aguilar's like this sweet soccer dad or whatever, but I was so fucking scared of that guy. Like, one night I was walking down Central and somebody yelled out a window at me, and I was just, I thought I was hard, and I'm like, fuck you, and I flip them off, and then I see who's yelling at me, and it
Whoops.
was it was Carlos Aguilar just out fucking around doing whatever. This was, I was probably 20 at the time or whatever, and nobody ever ran as fast as I ran. And I love hearing like, no, he's got like a family, he's got his own business
Oh,
that is
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
seeing like I my friendship with Dominic came a lot later, and we're almost kind of more Facebook buddies, but he's so just like he's like his very liberal politics that are all sort of based on compassion for people, and this great and successful chef. I love these stories because those guys, they got gnarly.
They were
And
so, they brought terror to most places that they went to.
yeah,
It's just,
I mean, I'll never forget, like, so I'm at Social Distortion at the Sunshine Theater, right? And I was a novice Social Distortion fan at this point. Like, I'd heard the self-titled album or whatever, and I'm skinny as fuck, my ponytail, standing on the edge of the pit, just watching, right? And then 1945 comes on. I don't know this song at this point. I wasn't cool enough to have that record, and you had to
You
know
have to
some,
know. Yeah.
and all of a sudden I'm in this mass of swirling bodies. Like that room lit the fuck up, and it was just like, oh, hold on, and then I guess about a year later, this too smashed out at a Circle Jerk show at the Sunshine Theater. And at that Social Distortion show, some dumbass Nazi was doing his fucking bit, and Mike Ness like got into it with him, and is like Nazi punching history, like he's kind of a big hero of mine. I mean,
Really?
punching Nazis. I loved Social Distortion. He always looked so fucking cool. But yeah, Sunshine Theater was I mean, in those days, I mean, I saw Fugazi there, so many things. And we got to open for people,
This is the
like,
early
like,
90s. Early 90s.
yes,
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Who'd you open
by
for?
the time by the time I got into a band where we were playing shows and opening for people, it was pretty quick. I played with DI, which was a very big deal to me. I don't know how they haven't been dug up more. They're so fucking good. I
Like,
played with DI,
wow, man, you're a celebrity in my.
DOA and No Means No, Jawbreaker, Sublime, strangely.
Yeah.
And we thought they were fucking douchebags because we played with them at the launch pad, but they were not like, you guys were great or anything like that. It was like we played the same night and we thought they were douchebags because they had a cell phone. Because what's up, Richie Rich? And they weren't even big really then, Uh, but we were put in front of audiences. I mean, Jawbreaker was like 400 people, and I did not have that experience in any way in Portland. And I just think it's so great that shit went that way in Albuquerque. I will always thank Joe Anderson for putting us on that show. But that was standard practice, and it doesn't happen in the same way in Portland. And I'm just really grateful for that. I mean, to really play in front of an audience was awesome. I mean, there's a reason I got so
Addicted.
addicted and centered my life around playing music,
Yeah.
and then kind of got a little deflated in Portland, but whatever, led to me having an awesome kid. I don't know,
Well,
like,
that's nice. Before you tell us about your Portland life, tell us about the NoFX show where Ed wrecked the
oh
Maverick.
yes.
People
So
been asking for this one. You seem to be the only one that has memory of it.
yeah, I got some pretty clear ones. So there's a bit of a backstory there. Uh, just just to put a fine point on what cowardly little bitches those Nazi skinheads were. Um, so we're starting to hear about these scary Jersey skinheads around Albuquerque. It's Albuquerque's small town. Someone weird shows up, you're going to hear about it, right? And then one day I'm walking along with a couple of friends from Nerd House days, and one of them is a black guy, and I bring it up because it has relevance. We're walking along and we see one of these guys. I mean, you see skinhead and you're hearing about these people, you've never seen them before. Albuquerque's small enough.
Yeah.
And so we rolled up and we're, and these guys, the three of us were not an intimidating crew, right? And we roll up and we see this guy and we're like, hey, what's up? And they were completely nice to us, right? They didn't like Sig Heil, they didn't talk shit, even though I'm there with a black friend, right? But then kind of they start hanging out and there's like a skinhead unity thing and all these motherfuckers were kind of kind of feeling bold, right? And so then NoFX plays. And this is all going on before this. NoFX plays. And these guys show up and all of a sudden they're hard asses. And all of a sudden they feel bold because some of the local skinheads had showed up with them and they really thought they had something. But they weren't ready for Chicano skinheads. you know, they weren't ready
They don't
for
know.
for they certainly weren't ready for Big Ed. So they start doing their shit, and they're I probably shouldn't do that. Take that right out of
But
context.
yeah, no kidding. You'll end up on
There's
the
Josh
internet.
Gibson signaling, but they start doing their bullshit, and Chavo, Steve Romero, is the first one that breaks. He's just like, "Fuck you," and he just clocks one of them, and all hell breaks loose. Craig Brownrigg got stabbed through his arm and got taken away in the back of a pickup truck, and it was bad enough it damn near killed him. Like there was a massive amount of blood lost. These guys get the shit beat out of them. They run out to some shitty old Maverick, Ford Maverick. I remember the car so well, and it was classic. You know, it was almost like a bad movie. They get in the car, it just ain't starting, right? And so pretty quickly, like Big Ed is jumping up and down on the car. The car's just getting smashed to fuck. These guys, I think they wound up getting arrested because, you know, I mean, Buck Wild applies across the board. I do believe the cops showed up and took only those guys to jail. And it was like, cool, the cops are being crooked in a good way. You know, maybe you should have
Does that
arrested
happen?
everybody, but
Yeah.
get that fucking Nazi scum out of here, or whatever, you know. And I like, you got to bear in mind, I was around some hard shit and some crazy shit, and I never really ran away from shit, but you know, I wasn't one of the dudes fucking kicking Nazi ass. I'm not gonna bullshit, you know.
No, you're not gonna
Um,
stop that from happening.
and then, yeah, at one point, Craig Robinson, ever dramatic, you know, is like a friend of mine comes up to me. He's like, dude, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And Craig Robinson comes up and he's like, you're not going anywhere. We've got business to take care of. To his credit, he was ready to fucking throw down. I mean, that guy was serious business, and I didn't go anywhere. You know, I like hung out and didn't punch anybody or anything cool. But yeah, I mean, that was insane. And NoFX definitely swore off playing Albuquerque ever
Where
again, and
was
later
this?
had to because
Because they
this
just
would have
did.
been 91. It was definitely, I think it was Nerd House days. So it would have been 90, 91, 92 at the very latest.
Where was the show?
It was at the Tower Studios, I think it was called. I saw Green Day play there prior to this, and there was like 50 people there. Um, and there was a lot of shows there. Treadmill was another favorite. I think I saw them there. That was an Albuquerque band. Um, but yeah, the NoFX riot was a fucking thing. That was
You guys
that got
scared
real.
away, no effect.
Yeah, pretty much. And the Nerd House riots, those got fucking crazy because the frat boys were just going to go over and scare some weirdos. But you know, like it was like Big Ed had been at parties at that house. Dominic had been at parties at that house. Everybody had been at parties at the Nerd's house. And so those guys would fucking come over there and they always got more than they bargained for. Like like it was crazy. And those riots got fucking huge. I mean, these were big ass gang fights. Um,
Frat
I'm amazed
boys
I never,
versus everyone else.
yeah. Well, and you know, there was like 10 to 1 and those old, you know, like my friends and I weren't the hard asses, but the periphery guys, I mean, like, dude, they were like, they weren't people to fuck with, you know, they really weren't. Um,
No.
you know, like, yeah, interesting times.
Heard more than a few stories of people at the frat house parties not having a good time and it ending pretty badly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and you know, I think, yeah, somebody from one of our parties went over there and stirred shit up, and it spilled out into the street. Um, I think I saw Steve Yoon at one of those
Oh,
instances. There was like a weirdly scary looking guy, like at one of the frat houses, and those guys have been over there, right? Fucking shit up, causing trouble or whatever. Um, Not necessarily Steve Yoon. I mean, he was kind of a reserved guy, but this was like one of those like, this a fucking movie kind of moments. You know, this guy like swings a knife like over the gate out at people. And he was like with the frat boys, but he wasn't really like a frat boy type. He looked like he would carry a knife. but he was like with them and just wanted to fight or whatever. But Steve Yoon just had that presence, and he just looked at him and he said, "Bring your knife, come here." And that dude fucking disappeared, like, and I was like, I'm glad I'm up and up with this guy. Like, I'm not, like, this shit's wild.
This is the young people of Albuquerque at the time with the most aggression, all found each other and became punk rockers.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was,
Yeah.
and then those guys,
Oh,
I
great
mean, it was
people.
so, yeah, and I had these sort of caricatures in my head of who these guys were. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that? Like, that guy's like part cholo and part skinhead. Like, that's
I'm so
scary
confused.
and not to be fucked with. And I'm so glad that I got to hang around long enough to see, other facets of these guys other than this little role that I had put them in. I mean, Chicano culture is just so much a part of how we grew up, and it was such a privilege to grow up in that. I mean, just in terms of how friendship was, you just Chicanos just provided this example. Like, you're friends with people when it's inconvenient. You're measured whether you run away when there's a fight or whatever thing. And uh, so I get a little casual in my talk about culture down there. That I should probably be a little more sensitive as a white guy talking about these things, but it's all from this perspective of absolutely revering this culture. I mean,
I agree.
it you know it
Yeah.
was just the some of the best friends I ever had, and even if it was white friends, there was like, everybody knew like a white guy that talked like that, and they had that cool accent. It was like
That's our
that. It
homie.
just the culture permeated everywhere, and it affected all of us. And you see it even elsewhere, like that that show This Fool. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that. I don't remember what it was on. It was some streaming show about LA Chicanos. And there's like these punks, and there's like this Chicano punk that is like dealing with his cholo like cousin that's coming home from prison, and it's fucking hilarious. It's a really great show, but so much of it was about Albuquerque because, as vain as I get about Albuquerque, what is Albuquerque but poor man's LA?
Is
You
that what?
know,
Oh, that's well stated. Because
I mean,
it's that's the only
and I'm
place
kind of
like
proud of
it.
it.
Well, I am, but I just there's only one other place like it, and that's Los Angeles.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
of all my studies of all the cities around the world and all the research I've done, the only place that you can compare it to is LA.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the big demarcation line, the real big difference is the heavy prevalence of native culture and what that does to sort of stir the pot.
To the
And
brings to the dynamic.
yeah, absolutely. And so, even because I've got this sort of love for Latino culture anyway, and there are certain things that seem to transcend whether, and I've been around so many people from like Puerto Rico or Cuba or even necessarily Mexico, although a lot more up here around like immigrants from South America or wherever. There are certain commonalities across Latino culture, but Southwestern Chicano culture really is a very distinct thing, and I think particularly with that Native American influence, and of course at some point they become a little bit indistinguishable too, because that's the region,
Yeah.
and Chicanos are just native people that bred with Spaniards and all of these things. But it really did make for this very vibrant and interesting um, culture where friendship is really valued and loyalty is really valued. And frankly, I think you know being with your boy when it's inconvenient, and standing by your people, and not every friendship is just like
No,
Like we're not just here for good times,
no, we're here
because
for all the
as,
times.
as much, yeah, because as much as we can laugh about and celebrate all of these moments in Albuquerque culture, like there was a lot of bad, you know,
Yeah,
pound to pound to
yeah,
pound, there was a lot of really bad fucking times there.
yes.
And and I didn't even realize it till I moved up here, where it's like, well, people aren't yelling out the window at me. That guy's being a dick, and maybe I'm going to do something about it, and maybe I'll get fucked up. He's not going to shoot me, you
No,
know.
and in Albuquerque or New Mexico is like this prison culture. It's all about respect and being ready and being prepared. I, I can't
Yeah.
pinpoint that other than to call it a
I mean,
prison
I
culture.
I think that's a good sort of way to look at it. But then there's also, like Chicano families are
Mixed in.
they're a lot tighter, and everybody's got all these fucking cousins everywhere, and cousins are kind of like friends, but kind of like family, right?
Yeah.
And so pretty soon, that just sort of, I think, bleeds in. I mean, I was in jail one time and over skateboarding bullshit, and this like kind of 80s cholo kid is in there, right? And he's like, what are you in here for? And I show him my thing, right? And it's, I was felony battery on a police officer, which was all bullshit. I just didn't let him take my fucking skateboard from me.
Okay, I knew that was had something related to the actual skateboard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
and I wasn't even riding it. They just rolled up on me and tried to
yeah.
take my shit.
No,
It
yeah.
was probably not the wisest move, but fuck them. But anyway, I describe it, and then this kid looks at me. He's like, "You shouldn't be in here. You're a good person." I was like, "Well, what are you here for?" And he goes, "Fucking traffic tickets." So we're kind of broing down a little bit, right? And then this old school cholo comes in, and he's all fucked up, and he's just wild, and he looks at me immediately. I'm skinny kid. And this was later. I was probably 22 at the time or something. But he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, bro, let's fight to pass the time." You know, and I was like, and so I had the good sense. Like, I was like, I did the math in my head. I was like, I'm about to get my ass kicked. I can look like a bitch before I get my ass kicked, or I can at least like say something cool. So I said, and of course it was dorky, but I was like, I'll fuck you up. You don't know who you're fucking with, or whatever. And I stood up and like was just, yeah, I wasn't getting ready to kick his ass. I was
But it did it
getting
work?
ready to get my ass beat, right? And the fucking right then, because he'd been pounding on the door, raising all kinds of hell prior to this, and that right then they come and they take him to another cell. And so I'm like, I sure am glad I talked some shit before that went down. Fuck yeah.
Because
But
now I'm
then this
like,
fucking
run this.
kid that I had met 15 minutes before, the other sort of 80s cholo kid, like Raiders cholo. He's like, don't worry, bro. You were here first. If you'd have fucked with you, I'd have had him. And I was like, what the fuck are you gonna do? I mean, how are you not gonna admire that sort of, like, he was loyal to me because I was cool to him, and he knew me 15 minutes more than the
15
other guy.
minutes. And
Like
now he's
that,
willing to throw down with you.
yeah, like that's some Albuquerque shit, but that's some very fucking cool Chicano shit. Like, you know, what can you say to that? Except I hope that I have sort of taken this influence and at least behaved as a better person as a result.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's some cool shit, you
Yes.
know.
One of the things I love most about the Chicano culture is how not just one, but they're so good with the kids and they're good with the grandparents. And,
Yeah,
you have the
yeah,
fully tatted guy, pushing the stroller at the mall, playing with the kids, and they look all dangerous. They're really family oriented, fun
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in lieu of current events, it's just thinking about, you know, I don't want to say that somebody else deserves to be sent to some fucking alligator Auschwitz or something more, but you can't help but bask in the irony of like Chicanos in New Mexico probably at some point are somebody's going to get deported by ICE who has family roots that go to pre-Columbian fucking times. And certainly Native American people have already been hard ass. These guys aren't going to make any distinction. They're not, and it just sort of just I think fondly of home, and I think often about Chicano culture and how this may play out for many people down there. And I hope it doesn't get that bad in New Mexico to where people are just being picked up because they have brown skin. But I don't know, you know.
I don't know. I don't know. Tell me what you're doing in
Yeah.
Portland.
Well, these days I'm a general contractor by day, and I work at a restaurant at night, and don't want to do any more of either of those. Like, it's good little doses. One job's very social. One job I work in isolation. I'm trying to build enough garage apartments, buy houses to maybe someday not work all the fucking time. I've got an awesome kid and an awesome co-parent that I met in Albuquerque. We moved up here together. I've got an awesome fiance that's from Arizona. I was in bands for the first like many years. Had a good metal band and a good little indie rock band. Indie rock seemed to be a good choice for old punks that wanted to like okay, do a little something more, but we could still get mean or whatever. And so I did that for years. I was producing recordings. I became part owner in a restaurant up here and sort of wrecked myself doing that. Uh, that's a
Gotta try. Gotta
gnarly
try.
business. Yeah, yeah, and then went back to school and finished my degree in economics and found that there was no job at the end of that rainbow.
Oh,
So that's how I started my construction business, and things have worked out pretty well. I was real set on getting out of the restaurant industry. Like, I can't be a fucking waiter and be a responsible parent. I can't be a 50-year-old waiter and all these things. And now I'm like, I laugh at work. I walk for a living.
yes. Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
ain't bad,
No, it's good
and
exercise and good money.
yeah, and I'm fucking hilarious when I wait tables. I'm fucking hilarious. So, I guess that's my new being in a band, is making, 70-year-old ladies laugh or
Great.
whatever,
No, there's
there's
not
worse
enough of
lives
you
for sure.
left. Yeah, there's not enough wait staff left that actually knows how to communicate and entertain.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty aces at that. I've had my ups and downs. We're all old now. None of us has the arrogance of youth. We're gonna fucking go and get everything right. And I'm in a pretty good place in life right now. I'm never going to be rich, but if some weird shit happened, I would absolutely be buying property down there in that dusty mess of a state somewhere near Albuquerque or in
Yep.
Albuquerque, and I would live down there half the year. I mean, and I've seen it change, and of course don't approve of a lot of the changes. But let's have some fucking lawns and trees. All right, the planet's already ruined. Don't xeriscape or whatever. But
I worry
but
about the trees in Albuquerque. I see the trees, especially in the Northeast Heights, they're dying. And I'm like, somebody's planting new trees in your yard, right? Like, somebody's planting new
yeah, I don't
trees.
I don't know what happened with, because like going to the UNM area, like in the day it was always like, oh, it's so lush and green. Let's like I just wanted to be around that. Um,
And
and
even the
now it's just so.
graveyard. Do you have graveyard party stories?
No, I never hung out around the graveyard much, which is probably a good thing. I'd have probably wound up getting my ass beat by some of
Yeah,
those
I guess
guys,
so.
but
Yeah.
there was there was
Yeah.
hella stories there.
It had
Um,
great trees. Like they can say whatever they want, or
oh yeah,
but it had
and
fantastic
Roosevelt Park.
trees. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Roosevelt Park was just the shit. I mean, there was like hills and trees and
Right.
all kinds of like not
Yeah.
Albuquerque shit. It's not just like some flat shit with some dirt and weeds and a cardboard box. No, that's a house. That's what they look like here, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
Uh,
know why more cities don't have parks like that. Like we have really great parks in Albuquerque.
we kind of do. Portland's known for this, and I actually now live in
Really?
St. Helens, Oregon, which is about 30 miles away. It's great little parks out here. Um, but I'm in Portland daily. Um, I'll have my pronouns. I identify as a Portland person, despite not living there. But yeah, I mean, and I think there's obviously the food, but it's that culture. I mean, that's what I kind of want to be around. And even people I don't know when I'm down there, it's just like y'all are like you're way more interesting than that shit up north. Like
It's
how
just
it is.
so much better. It's so colorful. It's just colorful. And
Yeah,
really, if you're
yeah,
nice to people, like if you go around, what's up, talking to people with respect, you have the best days. I mean, you might
yeah. I
accidentally
mean,
get something bad, but
yeah. I mean, I do. There is that sort of reality. I mean, generally, if you don't fuck around, you're going to be fine. And as scared as I was when I was a kid coming onto that scene, I never try to act like a hard ass, and 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 I was just genuinely nice and interested in
yes,
this shit, and
yes,
that got me by a lot. I will say though that one of the things that makes Albuquerque a bit scarier than because you got like you don't want to fuck around with Philly or
right, okay,
Baltimore, like
yeah.
there's like Chicago, all these legendary Detroit hard ass towns or whatever. But I spent some time in Baltimore with my ex-wife, and she was just very aware, like you don't go over there, like period. You just don't go over there. And so my experience of Baltimore was like it's just like rich white people, or
Because you
whatever.
didn't get to
Like
see anything else.
exactly, and you don't get to see anything else. And but shit didn't light up where
Yeah,
we ever were. And that's the difference is like in Albuquerque, yeah, some neighborhoods are richer and some neighborhoods are safer and this sort of thing. But like one of the worst things I ever saw violence wise was up in the Northeast Heights in
yeah.
like a fairly affluent part, somebody ran a kid down with a car on purpose. Like, yeah, yeah, that was rough. It's a fucking car. It was a wedge car, like an RX-7 or some shit. And this was some shit. Like we're up in the heights and more Nazi shit. Somebody's like, some Nazis here. He's getting his ass kicked. So like a dumbass, I'm like gonna go see this guy get his ass kicked. Cool. And we follow like through the backyards, run along cinder block fences and all that shit. And this these guys get away in a car and they drive down the street and then they turn around and a friend of mine's like, hey, they're turning around, grab some rocks. And he saved some people's asses because everybody ran to grab rocks out of this gravel front yard to fucking help this car with. And this bigger guy just didn't make it. And that fucking car came around and bam, smacked his ass so hard he flew over the car and landed on the ground behind the car. I'm with some friend of mine from the west side, and he looks at me. I look at him, and he's like, and this was like 91 Nerd House days. And he's like, that guy just got killed. I'm out of here. And we're like, booked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody somehow knew the guy. And apparently, somehow, this motherfucker walked out of the hospital the next day. So, God
Mm.
bless. But that was like a turning point for me a little bit. I was like, I ain't got to see the fight anymore. I didn't need to see that shit.
Nope.
Like, fuck that.
That's when you start going the other way. It only takes a few times and you're like, fight, I'm going
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. And
But
that's I mean I don't miss the gnarliness when I'm up here in Portland, life is good. Portland's gotten rougher since COVID, and people are like, "Oh, Portland." Oh, and I'm like, well, Portland's becoming a kind of a normal big city is what's going on there. Like it ain't no Detroit. It ain't no Chicago, and it sure as fuck ain't no Albuquerque. Like trust that. Trust that. I ain't afraid of shit here. Like
trust
now I'll
that.
get mugged in a couple nights. I'm gonna get mugged and get my ass beat real hard for talking big, but
I interviewed someone last week that's in Denver, and he's like, "These people don't know shit." And he's like, "This is fucking easy." It's like this is not dangerous in any
I
way.
I really I really enjoyed. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I really enjoyed the little bit of Jeff Holland's interview. Um, I did not know him from Adam, but just the way that, I mean, the guy is so fucking smart,
Oh my gosh.
and and just the way that he spoke about things and the depth and all of these things, I was like, and it kind of spurred me because I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do this. What if she makes me look like a dumbass? What if she doesn't have any material where she can't help but make me look like a dumbass because I'm the
Oh,
one talking and I'm a dumbass, and just like his perspective and things just inspired me to kind of
oh,
do it. I
great.
found like him on Facebook and sent a friend request. Like like I could wish I knew that dude back then. Or
And
maybe
I,
not, maybe,
oh, I knew him when
but
we
I sure
were,
do like him now.
oh my gosh. I knew him when we were younger, and I knew that he had gone through all kinds of crazy shit. But then spending time with him recently, the depths which
Yeah,
he went to, and so articulate for someone like me who loves to talk about New Mexico and society and crime and drug influences and the history of our friends. I mean, I could just sit and talk to him for days. It's the funnest
yeah,
part of
yeah.
my new
It was
hobby. He's
he's a really
awesome.
captivating speaker, so smart, and apparently lived, and a lot of his shit, like choices were made in his childhood. Like that dude was born for a
Right
path of
there.
like some, let's say, an interesting life, and I hope that
Something.
his life now is fucking awesome. I hope he's got, I hope he's having an easy, good life, and just has great stories and wisdom to offer people. I mean, certainly the great stories and wisdom part is true.
Absolutely. And I still have 2 more hours of Jeff to edit. I haven't even gotten through half of his story. We recorded all of it, and all the way through what he does today and the work that he does for Albuquerque, and the different things that he has done for his community. He's extremely educated on not just addiction and recovery, but Albuquerque addiction and recovery and New Mexico and the laws.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What I
I mean, what a great story.
Yeah. Yeah. What I find interesting is there's a lot of similarities in the people's stories, obviously from Albuquerque, but if you talk to the people that grew up like UNM ghetto, it's all kind of the same. There's just certain commonalities. And then Jeff was from the war zone, and it's almost like it was just even worse. And even back then, before it was
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I always kind of envied. I mean, Highland High School is just, it's punk rock high. I mean, it looks like the fucking high school in the Ramones movie. It was the coolest looking school in Albuquerque.
It's a
Um,
horrible, horrible place. I hate it. But anyway, yeah.
yeah, I mean, but we could have a contest. Like West Mesa
Which
could
one's more
easily have
ugly?
been just as bad, but was also fucking ugly. But everybody went there. I mean, like everybody went to Highland High School, and so it was the epicenter of sort of, especially like the culture that came before me, and like the Party
Yeah.
Vikings guys all seem to be from around there, and yeah, I mean, and it's right there. I describe, and I miss this about Albuquerque. Like Portland has all these great neighborhoods all over the place that you would want to be in, right? And when describing Albuquerque, I'm like, no, there's two places that you'd ever really want to be, and they're right next to each other, and that is UNM and downtown. And downtown ain't all that, but right around the student ghetto, which Highland's pretty much in there. Uh, that was that was where it was at, and while I appreciate the more variety that Portland has to offer, I always loved that you could just walk down Central. Like there was no, in mid '90s, there was no walking the strip of Central without like, hey, what's up, dude? Going to the Frontier and just, you'd see
Yeah.
20 people you knew. And for 10
Yes.
years after I moved away, I would just show up there and
And you
like, hey,
still
what's
see your
up? I'm
people.
gonna go. What you been up to? Like, and
Had
I
that
miss it. Like,
center. Yeah. Had
yeah,
that central
yeah,
place where you could find your friends.
yeah. And that was, I mean, that was a huge, I think, sort of quiet part of all of that culture was that forced localism where like you really were just going to see everybody at this spot or that spot,
And
and there's nowhere
anything could happen.
and anything could
And
happen. Dear
anything
Lord.
could
I mean,
happen.
yeah, there could be an entire book of bus stories, like riding the
Oh,
fucking bus in New Mexico,
oh
like only
my.
the down and out. You don't like in Portland, people take the bus as a
Yeah,
choice. Maybe not so much now, but in the day, like, you'd see businessmen on the bus and shit. No, your ass is on the bus because your car got wrecked, because your license got suspended, because your ass is too broke. I was always too broke, so that's why I was on the bus. But shit went down on the bus. Shit went down on the bus. You could have a book about that. You could have a book about the frontier alone. Like, it's
I'd
just
like to give more frontier history. This week in the news in Albuquerque is that the bus driver got in a got in a physical altercation with one of the passengers. The passenger got off the bus. The bus driver got off the bus, followed him, and stabbed him to death. That's just like the KOAT news social media thing
Jesus
on
Christ. I
Instagram.
mean,
The bus
like
driver
this is like a
stabbed him to death.
responsible person with a job, like was just hopefully safely like shuttling you around Albuquerque and then just got off the bus and cold stabbed somebody.
Stabbed him
Like
to
that's some
death.
Albuquerque shit right there. Fuck.
Another one recently,
Yeah.
there was a Air Force, oh, I forget what they call him, but he was only like 22, stationed at Kirtland Air Force Base and was off base on his birthday with his other buddies, all these Air Force guys, and they shot him, his friends shot him 16 times.
We have all of this romance around the fucking place, but like
Like, what is that? Like,
that shit's wild. And there's some like true crime shit from in the day that was like, whoa, I mean, there's a lot of like weird memories I have from my childhood that just sit in this weird place, and again, like when you grow up in an environment like that, it's not like murder's normal. It's not like I wasn't shocked when I saw this kid get hit by a car on purpose, you know, but when you live in the absence of that for long enough, you're like, yeah, nobody yells out the car window, like that shit was weird. Okay, that
waves in
shit was
front of you.
weird. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think very many of my friends in Portland like have a moment where there's bullets skipping off the ground at their feet. I was just hanging out at fucking Maxwell's trying to get with some fucking New Waver girl, and all of a sudden there's a fight, and I'm running out to the parking lot, and like that shit's like I could fucking see it like kink off the ground, and you know, again, like I guess I was like, well, that's not good. Like that fucker just shot a gun at me. Like, I think had I grown up here, I would just be like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck was that? It's just like
Normal there.
I'm glad my daughter lives up here. I'll
Me
say
too.
that.
Me too.
And these people aren't animals. It's not like violence like that 24/7, but the odds go up down there. Like, I don't think anybody in the history of Portland that drove for TriMet stabbed somebody to death. I mean, I wonder, did he get back on the bus and continue his route?
I
Like, how
know.
did that? Because that would be some Albuquerque shit too.
That
Like,
would be some
like, no,
Albuquerque
I gotta
shit.
do my job. I can't get fired. Like,
I gotta get to work. I gotta finish my route. The bus can't be late. I don't know. I don't know. Josh, very fun talking to you.
thank you for the opportunity. I'll be interested to see how great or more likely dorky I look with your editing. Try not to do me too dirty,
No, I
which
really
might
won't
mean
have to.
editing.
No, I won't have to edit much. Normally, you just take out like the filler words, and but you're pretty good.
Right.
Uh, yeah, it's nice.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all the interviews with other people. I miss people. I don't get to see Steve so much anymore, so it's like, oh, let's see what Steve's up to, other than posts about his love of sodomy. And,
And pumpkins. And
And
pumpkins. Yeah,
pumpkin spice, and sodomy, and liberal politics, and being a teacher.
there you go. There you go. Most of the
God
full
bless him.
most of the full interviews are on YouTube. Go look because
Yeah, I need to do that because I only saw like 10 minutes of Jeff
yeah,
Holland's thing, and I'm very curious about his story for sure.
that'll take me a while to get out. Have a whole docu-series on Jeff Holland. But the other ones, a lot of our other friends are on there and they mention other friends and they mention bands and
Oh
it's
yeah,
all
that just
interconnected. Yeah. Yeah. It's
sure,
really
sure.
fun.
Well, Deanna, have a great day. Thank you
Thanks.
for doing this, and
Thanks.
I'll drop you a line sometime. Just say hi. It's really
Please
nice,
do.
like getting to
Please
know you a
do.
little bit.
Post more baby pictures.
Okay, bye.